Welcome to St. Mary's Center for Women and Children. I'm Counselor Anissa Asabi George, one of your 4 at-large city councilors. I serve as chair of the Committee on Homelessness, Mental Health, and Recovery. This is our second hearing on docket number 0269 in order for a hearing regarding the impacts of homelessness on children, young adults, and families in Boston. I want to remind everyone that this hearing is being recorded to be played later on Comcast 8 and RCN 83. And I ask that you please turn off your cell phones, your cell phone ringers, and anything else that might make noise. If you haven't already, please sign in at the front door. And if you'd like to speak, please check off the box on the sign-in list. One of my goals tonight is to hear from as many people as possible so that when you do speak, if you would limit your remarks to a few moments or a few minutes, that would help accomplish this goal. I'd like to recognize my colleagues that are here with us today. From my right, Councilor Andrea Campbell, Councilor Frank Baker, who represents this district and is also my city councilor, and Councilor Matt O'Malley. I'd like to also recognize our partners from the nonprofit community who work so hard to help the homeless families lead lives with dignity and comfort. Thanks in particular this evening to Jim Green, who's the director of the Boston Shelter Commission. Hello, Jim. Amalio Nieves from the Boston Public Schools, who's in charge of social and emotional learning. I almost combined those two. Richard and Dan from Family Aid Boston. We're going to hear from Richard, I think, in a little bit. There he is. And as well as Deputy Superintendent Nora Baston. I'd like to especially thank all of the residents who live here at St. Mary's Center or some of our other centers. It's incredibly important that we not only hear from our nonprofit partners, but we hear from you, those that use our shelter system and that live in this wonderful place. Our first hearing in March, we heard from a number of those leaders, and we recognized from that first meeting that we were missing the voice of so many people. And it is important for us to listen to our homeless families and to those that are struggling through the chaos that comes with homelessness. And for me, as a former Boston Public School teacher, it's so important for me to hear about the experiences that your students are having, your children are having as it relates to our schools. Tonight, because we are recording this, I want you to know that it's recorded, but I also want you to know that the stories that you share tonight will be recorded, but they'll be recorded to live on forever. They'll be re-aired on cable, they'll be re-aired on the internet, they'll be re-aired on the City Council's website, as well as Facebook and all that sort of stuff. And that your words that you share with us tonight can be shared with hundreds and thousands of others. And I hope that you find the ability to share your voice with all of those other people empowering. And I hope that you are free to speak with us and to share that information and share your experiences with us. We want to hear about what caused your homelessness, where you found help and where you found frustration, and where you think that we, as a city where shelter providers can do better. And that we really change what we see when we think of homelessness, what the image is that comes to mind when we talk about homelessness, and really change the stigma attached with homelessness, that families feel that they can come from the shadows, that they can get the support they need, that they can get the support they need from the city, that they can get the support they need from the shelters and from the schools. And that, as a former educator, that teachers and adults in school buildings want to be helpful and want to be able to give you the support that you need, your children and your families. I want to quickly thank my staff and the central staff from the City Council who helped put today together. And I'm so excited to be here for a few reasons. One, this is very close to my home, and to know that there are wonderful things happening close to home is great. But as a elementary school student, I had to do community service. So Deirdre knows the story that I was actually a candy striper here when it was St. Margaret's Hospital. So I put it out there so no one can use it against me at a later date. And I still have my candy striper uniform. But this is actually the cafeteria. There was a cafeteria worker that I had a crush on, so I like being in here. And it was a wonderful time here at St. Margaret's Hospital. So I'm happy to be back. I've got loads more to say, but I'd like to ask my colleagues, including Councilor Jackson, who just arrived. Thank you for coming tonight, and I'd like if any of you have comments that you'd like to share as part of your opening remarks.
Well, thank you, Councilor Asabi George, for having a follow-up to the first hearing. It was a really powerful hearing that we had in the council chamber related to this important issue of homelessness, not only for families, but particularly for BPS students. I am the newly elected District 4 City Councilor, so I'm representing Dorchester, Mattapan, a little bit of Jamaica Plain and Rosendale. These issues are very important to the constituents of District 4. I am a firm believer that in order to develop and shape really great policies, you have to get out into communities to see what's happening on the ground, to see what's happening in practice, and to bring back stories to shape policies so that we actually have a meaningful impact. So I am here to listen. I'm excited to be here. I want to thank all of you for being here. This turnout is really incredible and really special. So thank you, and I look forward to learning more and hearing more, particularly the stories of the women and the children. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to thank Councilor Asabi George for having this here, and especially here at St. Mary's. St. Mary's has a special place in my heart. We've done some work up here. People that are connected to me and the work that Deirdre does and Daisy does and Susan does. Thank you, women. Special place in my heart. My mother was kind of the neighborhood mother back in the day, down at the bottom of the hill, and one of her roles was to help young mothers become mothers, how to nurture, how to breastfeed, how to do things like that, and it's really great that we're here, because this is one of the programs that, of course, special to me, I think does it the best for probably the most, the population that needs it the most, and it happens to be in my district. So this is a very proud moment for me, and like Councilor Campbell, here to listen. This isn't an issue that can be solved overnight or by one organization or by one person. It's this type of conversations that need to happen, and it's a group effort. It's city, it's state, it's federal, and it's the people in the neighborhoods that are going to need to be involved and to support what's going to happen and how we get to that end. Do we ever cure it? I don't know. But we can absolutely work as hard as we possibly can to cure it. So thank you again.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your leadership on this very, very important issue. I was not a candy striper at St. Margaret's, but I was born here 36 years ago, and this is probably my first time being back on campus. So I'm delighted. I know the great work that St. Mary's does. And am looking forward to the opportunity to hearing some of the stories, some of the challenges, particularly those for our homeless population, women and families, raising young families, young children. I work very, very closely with the team over at Project Hope right down the street from us now, and I know that some really incredible things are happening. Jim Green and the city's department does a great job. Resources are tight, so to see these nonprofits really help supplement that has been terrific. So I'm really here to listen and figure out ways that I can support the great work that St. Mary's and so many of our service providers offer. So great to be with all of you.
Thank you so much, and we're lucky that we actually have more counselors than table tonight, which really speaks to how important this issue is. I think it's interesting in government. We've been speaking about expediting permitting and all of these things for the business community, which is important. But I think the real character of our city is seen in what we do, not for the folks who make millions and tens of millions of dollars, but what we do for the folks who have had the toughest time in the city of Boston, and not based on lack of effort. It is difficult, and I love to hear the background music that we have in the back, because I actually my mom had a daycare for 25 years, so that's actually the background music that normally plays in my mind. I guess I would say tonight, really interested in hearing about consistency or issues that we have in the state side versus the city side, because I think there's a coordination of efforts that we really need to kind of get to. And as I said before, we're making it easier for business to do business, but we should definitely make it easier for folks who are in this community to get into housing, to get the supports that they need, and then also to ensure that we fund the school system at the level that we need to, so that generations from now, we can look back and smile and look back and just simply say how far we've come as a community and as a city in the city of Boston. So I really I want to thank Anissa for Madam Chairwoman for the great work that she's doing, really bringing this to the forefront. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
So we're first going to hear from a few of our nonprofit partners in the Boston Police Department, and then we're going to get right into public testimony. So I'd first like to welcome and first thank Deirdre for hosting us tonight and opening your home to us for the evening. And of course, you open your home to lots of people every day. And so thank you for that, and we'd love to hear from you. And then after Deirdre will be Lauren from Crossroads.
Well, probably Rachel, but that's okay.
Oh, Rachel, sorry.
So thank you all and welcome to St. Mary's. It's really an honor to have you all here, and thank you, Chairwoman George, and all the city councilors for coming together for such an important issue. We are so blessed and honored to work with the families, and that's really who I need to thank, most importantly, for their resilience, their fight, their smiles, and what they give to us every single day. Their strength is just so empowering for us. I really appreciate your willingness, all of you, to hear about their struggles. Many great partners in the city and many great folks doing the work, but we clearly need more. But anyway, Frank Baker, I need to call out as a staunch supporter, both on a personal and a professional and just a neighborhood level. When I first came here 2.5 years ago from a hospital setting, just everyone rallied around to help us when nonprofits are really struggling, as we all are, to create an improved environment, home for our families, when capital is the most expensive thing you can, and it goes to the bottom of the list, brought in supports for us to really dignify and improve our space and our home for our families, our women and children. After I talk a little bit, I'll have Rachel come up from Crossroads, which is one of our programs in East Boston, but it has its uniqueness in that it's in a different community and it's 30 years old and very special place. The staff here is amazing. I'm so honored every day to call them colleagues. What we try to do here sounds sort of simple, break intergenerational poverty, one family at a time, but it actually is possible. And the way we do it is 3 E's, which is emotional well-being, educational achievements, and economic stability. And we do that through providing the soft skills of conflict negotiation and financing and help them with rehousing. But we also have schooling, education, where we know that is their ticket to self-sufficiency, bar none. And we encourage our women to do that, and they succeed through that, graduate from high school with a high school equivalency, take college credits, and really are on their way to. We don't want Starbucks, Dunkin' Donut jobs, because we know that will not ever really allow them to be self-sufficient. So that is a goal of ours. We serve over 600 families a year, and women from the community come in. They have Women's Learning Center, Women at Work, which are internships and opportunities to test their skills. They acquire computer skills, a certificate in Microsoft Office. You know that if you don't have computer skills, your job prospects are very limited. So that's been a real focus. We have 2 student labs. To be honest, their computers, although donated, are far superior to ours because we want them to have the cutting edge technology that they can walk into a State Street and be comfortable and be successful. We have 8 programs here, 3 residentials, Margaret's House, St. Mary's Home. Margaret's House is 36 adult women with their children, 36 families 18 years old and older. That's probably 100 people. Then we have pregnant parenting, young teens, age 13 to 18 in our St. Mary's Home, which is our oldest program, as well as an alternative high school that young women that don't want to return back to school for a myriad of reasons, safety, relationships, et cetera. They can stay here and achieve and graduate from a Boston public school with a diploma. We have, as I said, Crossroads in East Boston, which Rachel will speak to. And then Bridge Home is a 12-bed program that we take referrals, emergency referrals from DCF. They stay with us. Our children are ages 0, newborn, through age 12. And there are 12 beds where we do an assessment whether they can reunify with their parents. So their parents are not here, just the children. Most of our families have experienced, just by being homeless, some level of trauma and many other things that you can only imagine. But the resilience and the gratitude is so overwhelming. It's extraordinary. I talked about Women at Work Plus, which is the employment, and then Women's Learning Center. We're just. I just want to read you one. We also, have a girls' radio station. All right? So these are girls 13 to 18 that come in, learn media literacy around appropriate positive messaging. They do interviews. All our girls in this community, in our program rather, graduate from high school, and every single senior for the past several semesters has gone on to college. University of Toronto, Suffolk, Curry, UMass, Roxbury Community, wherever, Bunker Hill. So it's just, it works. And and many times they are the first in their families to go on for a higher education. So I'd like to read you a poem of one of our graduates who now lives with her daughter. Change comes from the center. It's what powers us. It's what pushes us to become better than we were before. We have the power to change people's views of us, change the way we live our day-to-day life, change the world. No one has the power to change your destiny but you. No one can make you change. You have to believe in yourself. You have to overcome the fear of change. You have to overcome the fear of change. You have to believe in yourself. What I want to change may be different from what you may want, but I believe I can change. Therefore, I will. I will make a difference. I will be one less statistic. I will change everyone's view of me because I have the power to change. Close your eyes, close your eyes, close them. Put your right hand over your chest. That's where your change lives, in the center. So I'm delighted again. I want to thank you all for coming to our wonderful campus and telling you just a little snippet of the great work that happens here through the staff and our families each and every day. If Rachel could come up and talk a little bit about Crossroads, then...
Deirdre, can you talk about the housing piece over here also?
Sure.
What it is, who's going to be in there, how it
Sure.
came to fruition?
Absolutely. So actually, that's our other program. This clinic building is a very solid structure, and what happened was they were a foundation was looking to fulfill its mission of 100 years, which was to have a home in Dorchester, really, believe it or not, for young families coming that needed more support, a longer ramp from from shelter and a congregate and supportive environment to be able to live on their own, to shop, to cook, to know when to go to the doctor or take the baby to well visits, learn parenting, learn who to open the door to. And so this environment is located with all the supports here. We have Boston Healthcare for the homeless. We have Horizons for Homeless Children. We have a HealthWorks. We have Family and Community Solutions. So our partners, we have a high school and so on right here. So they have all the supports and all the case management that they need if they struggle. One example, Gnosis program, Margaret's House, of the 280 families we have settled in permanent housing over the last 5 years, one has lost their permanent housing. And that was through domestic violence and substance use disorders. Because although we only get paid for a year, the case management goes on for a lifetime. Once you are with us and become part of us, then we'll case manage you. This program is an unmet need. We saw young families that we thought were ready to go, or they thought they were ready to go, anxious to get on their own, and had difficulties, weren't always as successful as we wanted them to be. So this was a grant that three agencies were brought in to present, and we were awarded the grant, and then the city, Elizabeth Doyle and DND, Sheila Dillon, with Frank's support and the mayor's support, and the state DHCD gave us project-based MRVPs. We were able to build 12 beautiful apartments. They are gorgeous. The view is to die for. It's like $1 million view. Don't tell anybody. But it is for our young families who deserve an opportunity to make it with help and learn and have a case management model, someone right on site. They'll go to college, they'll continue their education, they'll work, we'll get them the jobs that allow them when they leave to really be self-sufficient. So thank you, Frank, for that, and thank the city, all of you who supported that. We're working through some of the, you asked what the challenges are. Oh, it's this and the housing and there's a list and another list and another list. So don't ask me about the challenges. We're learning them as we go, right, Elizabeth? You're helping, and we'll solve it. That's right, together. So thank you all so much, and thank you for coming here this evening, Rachel. Any other questions?
Haven't even spoken yet. Why, thank you. So I'm Rachel Hennessy-Kroll. I'm the director over at Crossroads Family Center in East Boston. So grateful to the council members for the opportunity to be here, to bring some of our families here. Although we're only in East Boston, sometimes it feels a world away when we're sitting in traffic and the babies are crying, but we made it. So here we are. Crossroads, as Deirdre said, is a program of St. Mary's, but was independent at some point and for a long time. 31 years ago, the priest at the time at the Most Holy Redeemer, the Catholic Church in East Boston, there was a fire in the neighborhood and a few families were displaced, and he opened up the doors of what was formerly a convent to welcome those families inside. Fast forward, and that formalized into a contract with the Department of Housing and Community Development, much like Margaret's House, to provide family shelter. We have 15 families in that former convent today, and we have 12 families in what are called scattered site units, apartments that we rent on their behalf in the immediate neighborhood. All those families get the same services while with us: case management, rehousing, food support, basic needs, 24-hour access to a variety of things. And then one more thing is we have food pantry over at Crossroads to serve the East Boston neighborhood, and we're the only food pantry in that neighborhood. So that's Crossroads. Thank you all for being here. We're looking forward to hearing from the families.
I'm going to take a moment, if you want to. You can get up if you want.
Go ahead.
So
I'm not going anywhere.
Nora Baston is a deputy superintendent, and she has some updates on what she's doing to help us in our quest to end homelessness.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair. When the city councilors, you have no idea how lucky we are as a city. I go to meetings across the city, walk around neighborhoods, and you guys are so involved and really listen to the neighbors, what they want and what they need. And When you became the homeless liaison, I remember at City Hall, the mayor announced it, and I walked up to her at the census walk, and I said, can you help me with the homeless youth? And here you are, really taking on the boots ground running, because to be honest with you, I'm not too familiar with it. And just learning about this building today and what you have, I am so amazed at what you guys do. And so you know you're going to be seeing a lot of me. I work a lot with the kids and a lot in the schools, and Commissioner Evans really wanted us to build the relationships at a young age. And when I went into the schools, I was so amazed to see how many kids are really homeless and how many come from homeless families. And when I went to one school, I went and told some of my friends and teachers, and they go, we have that in our school. We have that in our school. The numbers are amazing how big it is. And then it's really something as a police department that I really don't know the solution to it. I really don't know what avenue to go to. When I asked around, people said, well, the state takes care of that. And I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, when we have our meetings every week at this, you know, at City Hall with Jim Green and Sheila and Elizabeth, and I say, well, what about the homeless youth? Because we kind of, you know, everyone we have a tackle from a perspective from the police side of the criminals and, you know, what their quality of life, but really those kids, to make them be able to grow and give them opportunities, I just don't know what to do. And I want to be part of the solution, the department. So having this program, you're going to be seeing a lot of me. And a lot of the officers also want to be a part. So when I walked in today, I saw the kids wave, and some of them were waving like hello, and some of them a little nervous. And I want them to have an avenue to know that the police, we're here, part of their family, and make them feel comfortable. But I can't say enough for you to bring this topic to a head. And really, I know this is a beginning of having answers and problems and solutions made for this homeless youth. So I can't be more happy to be a part of everything you do in the City Council. So thank you.
Thank you. And then last, we'll hear from Richard Ring. No, not today.
My name is Richard Ring. I am the president of Family Aid Boston, and I thank the council for this opportunity to talk about homeless families in Boston tonight. As just a little background, I had the pleasure to serve on the board of directors at Crossroads Family Shelter in East Boston for many years, along with Father Bernie McLaughlin and Bishop Hennessy. So we do have that connection in East Boston as well. Family Aid Boston serves about 250 homeless families each day, providing services that help with prevention, rapid rehousing, and employment opportunities, while also providing emergency shelter and permanent housing. We work in partnership with the Mayor's Office, with Elizabeth Doyle and her colleagues at the Department of Neighborhood Development, with Jim Green at the Emergency Shelter Commission, to operate two specific programs for the city. The first program is the Family Emergency Solutions Program. This is the city's 24/7 emergency response to family homelessness. This program currently shelters 12 homeless families, including 30 children, and we assist another 30 families on a wait list with prevention and diversion services. There are 49 children included in those families on the wait list. The second program that we operate is the Housing Access Collaborative. And this is a rapid rehousing program in which Family Aid Boston currently has 29 families placed in apartments and 6 more families engaged in housing search. There are 57 homeless children in the combined 35 households. In addition to these programs with the city, Family Aid Boston also operates 123 units of shelter funded by the state. There are 252 children living in these shelter units, all of which are located in the city of Boston. In the last few years, each of these programs that I've cited has been required to expand its capacity to meet the growing demand of homeless families. As we know from the city's 2015 annual homeless census, it recorded a 25% increase in the number of homeless families. So we feel that if we want families who were born and raised in Boston to keep living in Boston, we recommend these following actions. We ask the City Council to continue to support Mayor Walsh's plan, Housing a Changing City, Boston 2030, to create 53,000 units of new housing. We need more prevention services. If you can keep an at-risk family in housing, it both serves the family from, it saves the family from trauma and saves the taxpayers money. On average, it costs $1,500 to prevent a family from losing their apartment. By comparison, sheltering a family for 3 months in a motel costs on average $9,000, plus the cost of securing housing for that family. Over the past 5 years, rent prices have continued to increase while wages have remained stagnant. A recent study noted that the average rent in Boston is now topped over $2,000 a month. We need to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, along with more job training opportunities so that families can remain in Boston, close to their family and to their community. Along with this testimony that I will submit, we're submitting the testimony of one of our clients, a woman named Sylvia, who in fact benefited from her time spent in the Family Emergency Solutions Program and then moved into an apartment in the Housing Access Collaborative. So on behalf of Family Aid and our clients, I thank the council very much for this opportunity to address you.
Thank you. So we're going to call up, when you signed in, you marked whether you'd like to testify. So we're going to start with Megan West, and after Megan will be Yanira. Is Megan here? Yes. Oh, okay. How about Yanira? Would Yanira like to come on up and talk? Thank you. Oh, sure.
Hi. Good afternoon. Sorry. Okay, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone.
Just breathe.
Okay. Oh, my name is Janira. I live here at St. Margaret's Home. I decided to testify because I love this place. Not only because not only because I live here. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just think about the past. Okay. This is my third shelter I have been in. And this has been the greatest one I have been in. There's a lot of help and homelessness for kids. I'm adopted. I don't know my past that much, but I'm really, really happy about this program. I know shelter could be really stressful, but you know, only because of you're homeless and you live in a shelter, that does not mean that your life is going to really stop. It will make you become more stronger. I go to Women at Work. Women at Work is, I didn't plan to go to that program, but it's really, really good program because it's not only a training, but it lets you think about later then, after the training. You never know if you can have a good job and you want to get your own place. It's not impossible. My plannings after the internship, hopefully I can get a good job by my training. And if I will live in a housing, I will, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna have my own place where to live because my daughter is 6 years old and I'm her only example who she follows. And this is a good place. I have been in the groundbreaking. I spoke. It was my first time experience. I talked in the Boston Globe. I was interviewed. A lot of good experience here. Later then, I really want to work here. It's a really good place. I'm not in a rush to have an apartment because I really feel comfortable living here. Sometimes it's hard. It really is. But you have a roof over your head and you're not paying rent. And there's a lot of help here, so I feel like you can't be really stressed that much. I love this place. I love Deidre a lot. I love everyone. The only thing that really impacts me here is there's women here that really wants to succeed, and it's hard because some of them are immigrants. And I feel that it needs more help in those women. There's one woman that I know, her name is Susie, and she is a wonderful woman, and she wants to have a job. And because of her immigration, she can't get a job. And I could say that I have succeeded a lot. I'm going to graduate this year, Women at Work, and from my high school, I passed my MCAS. I had the opportunity, so that's why I'm going to have my high school diploma. Yes, so I feel happy by being here. And that's all I could say, and thank you.
Yanira, can I ask you a few questions?
Yes.
So, I speak a lot in public, and I still get nervous. And whenever I get nervous going forward, I'm going to think of you because you really you found something here while you were talking to us. And you spoke beautifully, and you spoke from the heart. And it's really important that we hear that. And I thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And I'm really proud of you, and I'm proud of you sharing your story because it's not easy for you, I'm sure. And we see that and we hear that. Can you tell us, you said this is the third shelter that you've lived in. Can you tell us sort of the major differences between the three shelters and why this place is so much better than the others? And you don't have to name the others. I'm interested in the experiences and how different they were.
Okay, well, in the first shelter that I was in, it was in a teen shelter. It was my first time, so it was kind of hard for me because I never been in a shelter. I was not with my families. My parents are in Puerto Rico, so it was really hard because the rent, it was my first time experience. I don't know what else to say. It was just a teen shelter. That's really different. I understand. From there, I left to live with my brother, and things didn't go well. So they put me in a shelter in Brockton. And even though I was in Brockton, I come here every day to Boston to go to school with my daughter, bring her to school. And it wasn't easy, but I did it. And the shelter caught on fire two nights, so I got traumatized with that. And my daughter, a little, because every time she thinks about fire, she thinks about a blanket, because it was actually like in December, the middle of December. So it was, yeah. And when I came here, they put me here. I was in the teen program in the St. Mary's. My first night, I didn't go to sleep with my light off. I had to sleep with my light on, yeah, I was really traumatized with with the fire and all that. So that's the reason why I ended up here in the shelter, and I'm really happy.
What about the We Work program? Can you describe that to us?
Sorry?
The work program? Women at Work, I'm sorry. Women at Work program? What's that program? Could you describe it to us?
Oh, yes. Women at Work is a program for women who has their high school diploma or GED. That program is to succeed women that are in here in the shelter or outside the shelter who don't have jobs and have the opportunity for a training. It's a good program because, like Dee just said, she don't want the women here to end up in Dunkin' Donuts or, but it's a really good program. I'm at Corcoran Management in Brighton, and it's a really good experience, and I'm really happy for the program. The program is it's really helpful because it shows you interviewing skills and how to prepare yourself for an interview and what can you expect in a job opportunity. It's really good. Because at the end they give you a certificate, so it's a really good program.
That's great, thank you. Any other questions?
No.
I think you can add public speaking to your resume. I think that you should add public speaking to your resume. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Mercedes Tompkins. And then I actually don't have, Mercedes coming up. I don't have anyone else signed up to speak this evening, but I think that might be, so you are Sabrina, so I'm going to just check you off because it wasn't checked. And is there anyone else that signed in that didn't check the box to speak, that would like to speak? Okay, so you can just come up afterwards if you don't mind, and then we'll go afterwards. Thank you. Welcome, Mercedes.
Hi, my name is Mercedes Tompkins. I'm a Dorchester resident, but I also work at Brookview House, which is a housing program or shelter. It depends how you want to categorize it, for homeless women and children. We serve about 350 women and children a year. I will say that our largest program actually is our children's program. That's our prevention work right there. All of our programs are, they have certain elements. One is that, you know what you know. If you don't know how to live independently on your own, you don't know that. If you have never had a job, you don't know how to have a job. If you've never seen anybody get up to go to work in the morning, you don't know those norms. And that's our motto for our kids, and it's our motto for our women and children. Our programs are also very intentional. We have behavioral health services at the core of it, everything we do. And lastly, I would say all of the comprehensive service program is housed in what looks like a apartment building. We have 12 units, 2 and 3 bedroom units, where families can practice the skills they need to hold on to a house, an apartment on their own. And similar to you, you realize that, I know the system wants us to cycle our women out, our families out, but can they hold on? Because do they have the skills to maintain? And what we've always been about at Brookview is really taking a holistic view of what women and children need to remain financially independent and also housed. It gets down to the critical thing. How do you end poverty and homelessness for families? It's a little bit more complex when you're dealing with the whole family unit.
That's Mercedes
It's
Tompkins.
very complex because you're not just dealing with the moms, you're dealing with children who are in school where teachers don't even know that they're homeless, that they're not bringing their homework, they're acting out, they're feeling. How do you deal with the complex issues that families bring? And that has been our mantra for the last 26 years. Deal with families. It's complicated. It's complex. We want it to be simple, but it's not simple. And thank you.
Questions?
We have questions for you, Mercedes. And then after Mercedes,
She's a better speaker than me. Let's go.
Mercedes, thank you for coming out. I just have a couple questions. You talked about that. Is it the state wants you to cycle people out? Can you talk about your
there's a-
typical stay and are there limitations or organizations saying you can only house a family for X amount a year? Or like what are your limitations around that and who are putting those limitations on
Let
you?
me just say to you, the pressure is on all of us. There are over 5,000 families who are in this system that are, or close to 5,000 families who are homeless, surfing the couches, who are at risk. And so there's a pressure to figure out what's the quick fix. It's not anybody's fault. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
we need to get people out. But, you know, we feel at Brookfield you have to take a step back. You're dealing with Corey issues. You owe back rent. You owe back utility bills. It's not easy to apply to an apartment for an apartment when they look at your credit.
Yeah.
So those are some of the obstacles that families bring.
So
the
you're
table.
able to on an individual basis, you're able to say, this family needs another year. You don't have limitations where you 2
We
years
have
and then you.
limitations. The state wants us to get the families out as quickly as
So
possible.
what happens if they're
Well,
not
I mean,
ready?
we work with
and-
the families. If you can't find them a unit, because landlords won't take them, what are you going to do? You try to work with their barriers. Their barriers may be credit. You may be the gas company set up a credit plan, pay back, and because you can't force somebody into an apartment in the middle of the winter and they can't turn on
Right.
the heat. You can't
Right.
do that. So there are agencies out there that will help you, churches, different organizations that will help you. But I personally have seen families that have $4,000 and $5,000 utility bills.
Yeah.
And you can't ask one funder to say, "Can you pay the $4,000?" But what we do is we sit down with each family, and it takes time, and you sort of say, some of the short-term goals. What do you want to do? Get your kid reassigned to a school, X, Y, and Z, and then the long-term goals, of course, housing, and where are you going to apply? What are your barriers for getting permanent housing? And sometimes those barriers don't come out until you're well into months, and somebody says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you."
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you. So, but what we try to do is get people relaxed enough because they've told their stories a number of times. You tell your story, you get tired of telling your story,
Right.
and you might even forget part of your story.
Yeah.
And getting them to tell their story and come up with a plan. How are you going to pay the utility bill? I mean, first of all, how'd you get to a $4,000 utility bill? Are you living in on an insulated house, or are you keeping the heat up to 90 degrees, or you blah, blah, blah? What is it? Because it is also, in some ways, a behavioral change.
Yeah.
If you've never had your place on your own. When I was listening to your story, I was thinking about a young woman who had a 6-year-old, and when she got her unit, she got her certificate and she got an apartment, she was in tears. She said, "I have never lived on my own." She said, "I'm so excited. My 6-year-old has never lived in his own apartment." And, she's doing well now.
Yeah.
I mean, she was with us for a year. And over that year, we worked with her, and finally she got a place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the affordability of housing is an obstacle. A lot of families don't want to move to Brockton. They don't. That's not their home town. A lot of families. I mean, there's a lot of little. I mean, no one agency, no one person. We work with the city. No, we're all bound by certain regulations. Get families, solve it, come up with the one silver bullet. I think the only thing that I can say that really works is listening to what the families actually need and try to, get them on track.
One at a time,
One
a
at
punch
time.
list and
There
handle.
isn't any one thing because we all come in different.
And how long is a typical stay for a family if you could?
It's about
A year and a half, 2
A year
years.
and a half, 2 years. And what you all should know is that Brookview started as a transitional living program, and which was, we knew that we were going to be 2 years. And we worked with the state and the city when certificates came up. If somebody was in school, we'd say, can you hold it for a little bit? They're about to end school in a month. There was a lot more flexibility, but the pressure now to house is so immense, you know, that there isn't that much flexibility.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask Deirdre a question, Madam Chair? Okay,
Sabrina?
Madam Chair.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sabrina. I'm from Crossroads. It might not work. I'll hold them.
There he
This
is.
is my son Trey. I've been part of Crossroads, which I love it. Has its bad and good times, but I was, my oldest daughter is 16 and my youngest is 1. When I was young, when I had my oldest daughter, I was in a shelter, but it didn't, I'm like her, I'm like getting emotional, but it didn't work out because I didn't know, once I left the shelter and I was placed in a home, I didn't know the basics of like running a home. So I kind of got set up, not set up, but like they put me in a home which would help me pay my rent for the year. And I kind of set myself up for downfall. But they were so into trying to get me into a house and me getting myself into a house that I went into the first thing that was open, which set me up for failure. And so from when I left the shelter when my daughter was younger, sorry, I just gotta get myself together here. Yeah, when I left there, I ended up not wanting to go back into the shelter to deal with, because I don't know if they had the help that they have now, but it was just very hard. So I left out of there and I ended up getting into it's like a subsidized, they helped you with your rent for the year, and then after that you was on your own, hopefully to get, which I felt was a setup. I ended up paying rent. I ended up getting with my kid's father, and we just busted our butt and paid rent for numerous of years, bouncing around. I have another child. My kid's father was murdered. My first kid's father was murdered, and got really hard for me, so it was just me and my daughter. So eventually on, I had other children to move on the story, and I paid rent for a long time. I busted my butt. I kind of set myself up. Well, not set myself up, but like just did the normal thing. Just thought the easy way out wasn't going to work for me. I couldn't get Section 8. I was on the waiting list. I'm still on the housing waiting list for 9 years. I went through a lot of struggles. I recently got to the point where I have 3 little girls, which my last kid's father was murdered, and that was my biggest help. So when he was murdered, let me get this together. I had my 16-year-old, went into a shelter. When I went into the shelter, it was kind of like I just got pushed to get the first available thing that was there. And it seemed like that door opened, instead of them giving me the proper steps I needed to be firm in my apartment. They just kind of pushed me out to be like, all right, we helped you, move on to the next. So after that, I went on for years. After that 1 year, I ended up losing that house, which was on my Corey, because back then I didn't know, so I had to lose that house. A couple years after that, I ended up getting involved with my other 2 daughters' father, and we paid rent. We struggled for a long time. We worked double jobs. We did everything we had to do to pay rent. Like I said, he was murdered. So when he was murdered, I lost all income. I was mostly at home with the children. I only worked 1 job. He worked 2 jobs. So I ended up at Crossroads Family Shelter. And I gotta say, like I deal with a lot of people that, like, you know, sometimes they're ungrateful for what's going on, but I'm like blessed. Like when I went into that program, I ended up, I can't. My dad's originally from Boston, but my kids, I didn't want them bouncing around with me, so I had to separate from my kids for a while. So my kids stayed with my mom. And me and him kind of bounced around. So when I went to Crossroads, like honestly, like I reunited with my daughter, who was in the other room. I'm sorry. I'm just like, it's just so much. I'm getting my life back together. I'm feeling like my feet are on solid ground now. It's a lot. Like, it's hard out here, and like, I'm so happy to hear that there are programs for mothers, like young mothers, that when they're learning to like get homes and go through the struggle, like now they're starting to understand that we need more than just a push out the door. Sometimes we need more structure, and sometimes we need a little bit more help. I've been working very closely with Crossroads into like, the other barrier that hurt me is because I was so young and I was bouncing around trying to struggle with paying rent, my Corey. So I've been in Crossroads for like a year and a couple months, and like I just came up for an interview, but I'm nervous now because now it's like I have to worry about my Corey, and I have to worry about like my struggles from my past. I've matured and I've become a stronger woman, and I know more now. But because of what the paper says, I have to like, I'm still sacrificing and I'm still struggling for my years ago, like when I was a young mother learning. Crossroads has helped me to like, I'm getting like different programs to help me with paying certain things, getting things in order. Like right now in my life, like I deal with a lot of girls that sometimes are really ungrateful, but like it's so hard for me to like, I don't know, I'm so grateful for where I'm at. Like with Crossroads, like people might look at it like it's a bad place, but like for me, it's like, it's been a blessing to me because like I have people that finally are like seeing that I'm trying to do what I gotta do, and I'm learning, and I have three girls and a son. We're reuniting. Crossroads is helping me get into a scattered site soon where I will be able to have my family back all together instead of them being on the Cape, me being here, traveling back and forth. They're helping me so that I can get back into school. I don't know. I'm really, really, really grateful for my help and my support now. I have a good, strong team. Not to say everything's not perfect, you know what I mean? And there's bumps in the road, but it comes with life. I don't know, but I wish there was something that we could do for like parents that like, yeah, we have things in our past that sometimes might make us look like a bad person, or maybe our credit is bad, but like it is making it's already hard enough for us, but it's really hard when like we have things in our past. It's like we have no I just wish there was something they can do. Like I wish housing wouldn't deny parents or families for like background things if they've worked on it. If they've showed that they worked on it, I don't understand like that. It's such a struggle. It's already a struggle enough for what we're going through. Like I think they should be able to give people more chances with the Corys and things like that, because that's where I'm facing right now. But I can say from when I was in sheltering when my daughter was 16 to my son being 1 now, it's a big improvement in sheltering. Because when I was there before, it wasn't so supportive. We didn't have case management and housing management. We had one lady that could probably talk to us once a month, and that was it. I will say it's a big change. I am happy. Like, some days I just wish I was out of the shelter and out on my own, but reality of it, Rome wasn't built overnight. But, like, I don't know. I'm just grateful, but at the same time, I wish there was some more changes, because there's a lot of us out there that are really, really trying. And it's like, society got us in a place and we can't move. You know what I mean? And it sucks. And it sucks. I mean, excuse my language, but it does. And I don't know what kind of changes we can do, like, but something has to give, like, there got to be some kind of relief program or like something for that, because it's like it's becoming a big struggle when people have like electricities and like rent from years back. Like it seems like there's no like getting over that to get to that next stage. Like I just feel, I don't know, but I probably been talking in shambles because I do that all the time, but I don't know. I am grateful for my supportive team, and you know what I mean. And I got a great, like we got, like I got a bunch of girls that we just like. One's having a bad day, and you it's more than just a shelter. It becomes your family. You know what I mean? And we grow together, and it's like I'm blessed to be where I'm at now. Like I don't know. I did the whole I did the couch surfing. I did the house from house to house. I struggled. I paid rent for years. And it's hard out here. Like, the rent out here is not easy. And I'm like a single mother with 4 children. And it's like hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, no matter even if I work 2 jobs right now, it's hard to have a 3-bedroom with 4 children. Like, the rent is ridiculous, but like I said, that's life. But like, I am grateful for the team I have, but like, I don't know. I know nothing's perfect, like you guys said, and I'm glad to hear from people like you, like that are helping women to like get a little bit of a stronger structure, because I was there, and I did that years ago, and now I'm kicking myself because I didn't have the support I needed. You know what I mean? But
It sounds like you've, and I'm sure that Rachel and Lauren may agree, that you in many ways at Crossroads are a leader among the other residents. You talk about being frustrated when you feel that other women are ungrateful. And I think that you probably lead day by example, and that you lean on your the other families, the other women in the house
to give me strength.
And I'm sure that you give them more strength than you get from them. So thank you very much for sharing your story. And thank you, Sabrina. Next we have Akosua. Is it you? Don't tell me I said it right.
It was very close. A lot of people struggle with it, so I'm not
Well, people struggle very often with my name, so
it happens.
Will you say it for us, please?
Sure, Akosia.
Akosia. Oh, very
Yes.
good. Beautiful name. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I didn't know this was happening, so I didn't come prepared to speak, but I am a Boston College Pulse student. So as part of a hybrid course, I come to Margaret's house twice a week for 4-hour shifts to just spend time with the women and the children, and it's part of a community building class. And I think you have your classmates and they're like, I can't wait to go out into inner city Boston and change everything and, help all of these people. And that's, I honestly didn't think I was gonna eradicate homelessness with 12 hours a week. That's, it was definitely not my plan. But I didn't anticipate the women that I met changing me the way that they have. I kind of feel myself in this moment starting to get a little bit emotional because they are so wonderful. A lot of the things that they have here, resources in terms of school, childcare for their children, ways to get ahead and support themselves. I think it's very easy to talk about the fault of the individual, to talk about all of the decisions they should have made, but a lot of these women are here because they're choosing between a series of bad options. And when they end up in a place like this, one of the women told me that the St. Mary's Center is a flagship of Boston Homes. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, I mean, I guess I believe it because this is a great place and I love the staff and I see all the support that you get. But they've had terrible experiences in other shelters. and it's hard to really bounce back from. But at a shelter like this, where you have staff who are very understanding and caring, they understand that these women have been through trauma, these children have been through trauma, and it takes steps to overcome those things. It takes steps to break a lot of the cyclical things that these women find themselves in. And I just find so much strength in being with them and to see what they can gain from a center like this. But I'm so sorry for the women who can't end up in a place like this. Not just the women, the children, the families that can't end up in a place like this. When I first came, I was with the children, and some of them were having a hard time switching. As Yanira mentioned, some of the children are immigrants, switching from Spanish to English and learning how to read. And some of them are not getting that support in their Boston public schools, and I can't speak Spanish. So I feel kind of restricted in that end. Like, what can I do for them? I think this is a great start, but there has to be more people. There need to be more hands. There need to be more minds working together to build an even stronger system for these people, because at the end of the day, it's easy to say, oh, the homeless population is what it is, rather than to fix it. But there's so much potential. Imagine these women did not end up in this place. What would their future be? What is the situation for their children? And I think it's up to us, and I think it's wonderful that we're having this conversation on how to continue to build this community, because they are this community. And I'm just thankful for the opportunity to stand here today. One of the women that I really admire and look up to is Megan West. She didn't come up and speak because she was very nervous, but she loves Margaret's house. I did an institutional analysis for my class, and I ended up asking her a lot of questions about what it's like to be in the system. You know, what is it like to move forward and move through and push through and try and better yourself here? And she's studying to take her MTEL, I think, tomorrow. And she wants to be a Boston public school teacher. She wants to do art therapy for children with mild to severe disabilities. So what does that say about homelessness? You cannot just categorize people in one way. She's working so hard to set an example for her child. Yanira works so hard to set an example for her daughter. And there's so many women looking for that opportunity, but if they don't have the funding, if they don't have the resources, if they don't have the help, they can't do it. It's great that there's a housing manager here, there's a case manager here, there's so many different resources for school, for jobs, but that is here. And I want to say that this is a place where we are. And it's wonderful that we can sit in Margaret's house and talk about all of these programs, but what about everywhere else? And here is not even perfect, but it's wonderful. And I love the strides that I see these women making and all of these people making, and I find it very, very inspirational and touching. And like I said, I didn't anticipate wanting to hold on to these women so much. I'm done in 3 weeks. And I can't imagine letting go of all of these women and how they've trusted me with all of their experiences and all of their aspirations. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have worked with them and to find myself here speaking on some of their behalves and for other people that I have yet to meet or who have yet to touch me in any way. So, thank you.
I have a quick question. What's next for you? Are you graduating?
No, I'm a sophomore.
So more homework and more school.
Yes.
What are your future career plans?
I don't know. I just know that I started as, of course I want to be a doctor, help people, do something for the community. But here I am in a double major in English and communications and African studies. I'm not going to cut anybody open with that, so don't worry. But hopefully find a place in advocacy for the underrepresented populations, for the marginalized populations, whether it be in schools, companies. I don't know where I see myself working right now, but I think it's a privilege for me to have gotten the education that I have so far and have the opportunity to continue at an institution like Boston College. And I want to be able to use those connections and use that degree to help people who don't ever have the opportunity to be in my position. So that's where I see it going.
I have Tara next. And then is anyone else speaking after Tara? Would anyone else like to speak after Tara? Has Megan found her? No. Thank you, Tara.
Hi.
My name's Tara. I've been at St. Margaret's House for a year now. Gonna try to keep it short and sweet. Before St. Margaret's House, I was actually in a motel out in Westwood. In that motel, there was a lot of drugs, there was a lot of violence, there was no cleanliness. Our advocates didn't come out and see us. We were kind of just left there alone to fend for ourselves, basically. Throughout my time in the motel, well, I became homeless due to my father's son was an addict and he had relapsed. And he was who he counted on financially. I was at home with the baby. He was the one who went to work. He relapsed, wasn't paying rent anymore, so we lost that apartment. Ended up in the motel, and then my mom got diagnosed with cancer a couple years back. She always had Section 8. I grew up with my mom, so we lived in Section 8 housing, me and my mentally disabled brother. Once she became sick and could no longer work, she lost her Section 8. So while I was in the motel, I signed up for a transfer, and thankfully they sent me here to St. Margaret's. Not only did they send me here, they took my mother in as well, which is an amazing thing. So it was me, my mother, and my son in St. Margaret's House, which I'm very grateful for, because if she didn't live with me, I would have missed that time with her. So I've been here since last March. My mom was here. Since then, Margaret's House, first of all, compared to where I was, it was a godsend. The girls here are amazing. The staff are amazing. Nosa, you're amazing. We have a lot of just great staff that no matter what you're going through, you can knock on their door and they're there, as well as your neighbors, your friends, who we live with. So 6 months after me and my mom and my son came here, my mom had to enter hospice, so she had left here. And within that same week, my son's father committed suicide. So that was tough, we were still together, we just weren't living together. My son saw him every weekend, I saw him every weekend. I was there when it happened, so that it was eye-opening, it was traumatizing. So through that, I made it through. Unfortunately, I found myself very stuck, kind of alone. I had to become my mom's primary, her personal care assistant. That was a 10-hour day job. I have to drop off my son at Horizons over here, get to my mom, take care of her all day, down to eating, bathing, everything, you name it. That lasted for about 5 months. My mom passed away in December. And now I'm here alone, but that's okay. I found myself closing myself off. I stopped doing things to progress. I closed myself out from the rest of the world, And if I wasn't here, I don't know how I would have taken the last 6 months of my life. But thankfully, there are eyes all around me when I'm here, and the staff took the initiative to step up and push me to do something for myself. Because the longer you do nothing, the most likely you're not going to have anything. Nosa was one of the people who stood up and obviously questioned, what are you going to do from here on? The dust has settled. I can't dwell on the past. So through that and through Horizons, my advocate at Horizons, I found Strive, the Strive program. My Strive teacher, Thomas Flint, his mother's here today. The Strive program is in Codman Square. I've only been attending a week, and I gotta say, it's given my mind a complete 360 since I've been there. Thomas is an amazing man. He makes me want to go there every day. It's amazing. A lot of the kids that are in this program, they've been through a lot too. They've been through a lot of struggle as well. They've always been told no. There's, young men with felonies, young girls who lost their children who are in shelters. They've always been told no, and they're there to tell you yes. Every day is a challenge, but I wake up, that's my son Joshua. I wake up every day for him. I do what I have to do. This Strive program so far has helped me a lot in my mindset because
You can come up if you like.
come here. Come here. Come on. So within Strive, they work with us personally, one-on-one if need be. It's a job readiness program, but within that, you get a certificate for, Excel and Microsoft Word and something that'll help you make something out of yourself, as well as college prep courses that I'm taking. I'll be enrolling in summer classes this summer at Bunker Hill. And then in September, I should be ready to go and enroll in what I want to do, which is I would love to major in poli-sci with a minor in history. That's my dream. And basically, I just think my mind, my aspirations, where I'm going, without the help of St. Margaret's and the staff and the girls showing me that they can push through, I don't know where I'd be and I don't know where my son would be. But I'm very, very thankful. This place is inspirational enough that it's somewhere where, 10 years down the road, when I have a degree, where I want to come back. I want to come back and help. This is a place that, I've never seen a shelter like this. It's amazing. But if one day I can come back and I can change someone's lives the way they did me, I would feel like I did something positive. They all helped me through a bunch of struggles, and I just couldn't be more thankful.
Anyone left to speak? Oh, we've got one more. Come on up. All right. Do you want to say anything before you go? So just before you come up, if you just give us a moment, Councilor Campbell needs to leave she stayed over her time, but I'd like to give her an opportunity just to make some remarks.
I'll be very brief. Bye. I'll be very brief. I have a commitment in Mattapan, another meeting I have to attend, and yes, I am behind schedule, but how can you leave in the middle of those powerful stories? You just can't. I want to thank everyone who shared. We each have our story, and many who have heard mine, and they're complicated and they're not easy to share. But I want to particularly thank the women who got up here, had the courage to share their personal stories, and to give us what we need to bring back to these spaces, to truly shape policy and think of different ways and creative ways to solve major issues. I learned a lot. And I know this is the beginning of many more conversations to come. And I have to thank Councilor Anissa Asabi-George and her team again for the follow-up, having this second hearing, continuing the conversation around a complex issue. I want to thank St. Mary's. I want to thank the organizers. I want to thank your staff and central staff for being here. Thank you. Thank you.
So come on up. And just introduce yourself for the record, please. Thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Flint. I'm a founding member of an organization Mothers for Justice and Equality. We are an organization that was formed out of the need to speak about the violence that is happening to our children. And as a result, we found there's more than just the violence of losing our children. There's all kinds of issues that affect the families, period. And also, going a little bit back, previously, my last life was, I used to be program manager for the Department of Neighborhood Development, and we had a program called emergency shelter grant where we gave grants to homeless prevention, homeless shelters, and I was the project manager for that. I had like 19 agencies that I work with, Pine Street, St. Francis, and Mercedes left. Brookview House was one of my transitional projects that I work with, and I've been out of the city for retired from the city for 9 years, and I noticed that this issue about the homelessness in the children, and it has increased since I was monitoring them programs, and then it made me think, well, you know, there's all types of issues that cause the homelessness, and one of the issues is the violence. The families are touched by such violence that the mothers, the trauma, they lose their jobs. That's, you know, they're one paycheck from homelessness. Myself, I'm a victim of violence. I lost my son at the age of 15, and through the grace of God, I was still able to continue. I have four children, public housing, and in Orchard Park, and I could have been one of those families with me and my remaining 3 kids. So I ask that you consider all the issues that are pertaining to causing these families to become homelessness. It's not always their fault. And I want to thank you for coming out here, Councilor, because for years I've been saying, when are you going to come in the community, not only the city council, the state house. I mean, people work. You know, you got to make it comfortable, more feasible. You know, not just for the elected officials or their staff, because I know I worked for the city for 19 years, so I know how that works. We need to be more accommodating to the constituents. We need to come and look in the faces of the individuals like this. This is a beautiful audience, and all you ladies, hold your heads up. Don't feel bad. Do the best you can. Just do the best you can. Take it one day at a time. What's the one you was Crossroads? I used to go out there all the time. I had to go yearly and monitor these programs to make sure they were doing what they were saying they were doing. So I can't speak on them now, but I know there's a lot of great shelters and family shelters, the senior programs, and we need to work together. And another thing I want to say is to those that are in the shelters, that one of my pet peeves is you need to be registered to vote. Be active in the election process. This year is a real crazy year, but not only this year, every year. But I mean, if you have in the back of your head, oh, why should I vote? What am I going to get out of it? If you're in the shelter, you're getting something because the federal funds are paying for it. If you got a Section 8, you're getting something. Your children, if they're getting a free lunch, you're getting something. So don't say that. Just go. It's your right. And let our elected officials know that we're watching them. We're watching them, and if they're not doing the jobs, we're going to vote you out. That's my philosophy. I started that when my son was murdered. I wanted to know what was going on, what were you doing. I was just a stay-at-home mom, and continue telling your stories. You may cry. I used to cry. I cried a lot. Sometimes I may go home and cry tonight, but just tell your story. I found from this organization I'm with now. From that, I became stronger, and I'm able to talk more about the hurting things that, happened to me and my children. The young lady, she was talking about my son, Tommy. He was 13 years old when his brother was murdered. He did everything that he could to stay on the straight and narrow, and I thank God he's in his 40s now, and he's done that. And it's not, just because you go through bad times, it doesn't define you. Okay, and again, I want to thank you all, and please have more of your council meetings, all the different committees, so we can come out and speak more. I'm glad there wasn't a whole array of elected officials in front unless I missed it. Because I was a little late. But, and thanks again, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And I know you gentlemen, thank you for being here too, because I've been at some council meetings, there's only 2 councilors at it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
And I think we have one more. If you would just introduce yourself.
Buenas noches. Voy a hablar en español.
Good evening. She's going to speak in Spanish. Translated here as well.
Por eso no me había parado antes por el idioma. Mi nombre es Susi Espinal.
So this is Susie Espinal.
Soy de República Dominicana.
From the Dominican Republic.
Vine específicamente a Estados Unidos, o mejor dicho, a la ciudad de Boston. 2013.
She came to Boston in 2013.
Buscando la mejoría de mi hijo. Tengo un niño con parálisis cerebral.
She came here looking for a better life for her child. She has a child with cerebral palsy.
Y al principio hay personas que te dan la mano, pero ya luego de un tiempo te echan fuera.
So in the beginning there are people that give a helping hand, but then afterwards they kind of move away.
Es bien difícil con un niño en silla de ruedas y una bebé recién nacida.
It's really difficult with a child who's in a wheelchair and then a newborn baby.
Luego de esto estuve por un año en un hotel.
She was in a hotel for a year.
Pero les cuento que el día que llegué al programa de Margaret's House,
But I can tell you the day that I arrived at Margaret's house.
lloré mucho.
Cried a lot.
Por la diferencia de la plaza, ya estaba estable. Ya. Pero luego de un tiempo, el programa me hizo sentir como en mi casa. Somos
After a while, the program made her feel like she was at home.
en Margaret's House, nos trata como familia, nos da las herramientas para como madres y mujeres.
They give, in Margaret's house, they give support. They give the tools as women and as parents.
Nos da las herramientas para seguir hacia adelante, para prosperar tanto en lo intelectual.
So that you can kind of move ahead, that you can prosper intellectually. Or, you wouldn't say that.
Yes.
Prosper intellectually, but you know,
Y nos facilita seguir hacia adelante con un futuro estable.
so that, and they help us move easily ahead with a stable future.
Exacto. Yo no voy a llorar aquí,
I'm not going to cry here,
pero el día que me vaya del programa sí voy a llorar.
but the day that I leave this program, I am going to cry.
Y mucho. Porque de verdad me han hecho sentir como en un verdadero hogar.
Because they really made me feel like I'm in a real home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So at this time, I would like to thank all of the city councilors who made it this evening, including Councilor Jackson and Councilor Campbell, who just had to leave. But I'd like to give Councilor O'Malley and Councilor Baker an opportunity to say thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you again for your leadership on this incredibly important issue. Very briefly, I just wanted to thank everyone who offered testimony, particularly the women who shared their stories. It was incredibly impactful and moving, and as we sort of get into our budget process, as we get into debating issues around public policy, these conversations and this really powerful testimony is going to stay with me. And you clearly have a friend in me, and whatever I can do to make sure that the program, that the support for places like St. Mary's increases, and we're able to offer more programs to folks, we'll be able to do so. So thank you all for spending some time with me tonight.
Thank you, everybody, and like all of my colleagues have said, especially the women that get up here to tell their stories. It's healthy to open up your heart and to let us know what's going on. This place does it to you. I've been here speaking to the board and fundraising events, and I break out in tears myself. I've done it. It's been in this room, but it's all because of, you go over here and you see the young kids that come in from the state, and you see kids that one day they can't even talk or move. A week later, they're laughing and playing with the ball, and that's because of the work that's going on here. So to the women, thank you. Stay strong. There is a pathway, I believe. Some of what I got here tonight, I think, as a society, we're getting better. And I wanted to ask the woman, I don't know what her name was, who was talking about she was almost forced into housing and wasn't ready for it. Well, that's a bad mistake, and we're away from that. The Margaret's house in Crossroads, the way we're preparing people to actually run that house. Thank you. I wanted to thank Mercedes for the work you do, and it's nothing against the men in the room, but it's women that are doing it. Women reaching out to other women. I have a strong woman in my life, in my mother. She made us the people that we are in my family, know how to give back. But I think we're finally away from that warehousing people and taking people one at a time and seeing what those individual needs are. I want to give out a shout out to the young woman from BC. I'm not even going to try and pronounce your name, but great job, and I'm sure Deirdre will let you come back and volunteer. Always volunteer opportunity up here, and I think. Huh? I think she's going to be a big number, though. So but I think what's going on in these programs that isn't maybe happening out on our streets. There's a sharing of love. We're not loving each other as a society. Not that it's necessarily the right platform to talk about love in a city council hearing, but that's what we're not doing for our children. And in this place right here, these children are being loved, these women are being loved, and it's the staff that is showing them how to love and loving them. So I appreciate you all, and thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair. And also, my man Kerry, thank you for coming out tonight on your road trip. And Rachel, thank you for coming out tonight. And Dan, you're here. That's our city council staff.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Frank. I really want to thank all of you for your courage. Those of you that live here or at Crossroads, those of you that work here, because it's not easy work, this work. And, I think that my days, and I've said this a few times, I think my days are long and tough, but they really aren't. They're easy days. It's the work that those of you here at St. Mary's do and at Crossroads do. That's really where the tough work is. I'm a little bit of a note taker. So there's just a few things that I heard tonight that I want to share with you. I think one of the last speakers talked about this being a beautiful room. And I thought to myself, it really is such an incredibly beautiful room. Beautiful people, beautiful stories, beautiful histories, and beautiful hopes for the future and sort of what's next for all of you. And I really hope that you all do strive for what's next. And that's for the families, for the women, for the children, for the employees here at St. William's and Crossroads. Really, looking forward to your beautiful future for all of you. And I look forward to it. And I really hope to be able to play a role in creating that change for that future and creating a path to continued future and continued success. And and I think this might have been Sabrina, I forget who it was, but that we can tell you yes, that we get to a point in the city that we can tell you yes as soon as you're ready to hear yes. And that's really our work. That's our charge, is that we get to that point in the city where we're not talking about 5,000 homeless families, that we're talking about families that are struggling with transition, but we're waiting and ready for you when you're ready to go. That we're not pushing you out too soon, or we're not, that we're helping you get to a point so that that opportunity of future housing and future success and future opportunity is ready for you when you are, and that we continue to work towards that. And I look forward to this budget process, because unfortunately it is what makes the world go round. It's money. So that as we receive the budget tomorrow, I'm confident that the mayor has some specific goals in his budget to work towards eliminating and hopefully ending family homelessness, as well as all homelessness in the city. But it's something that we'll never lose sight of as a council, and I hope that we never lose sight of as a council. And if you feel that we are, as your elected officials, losing sight, that you reach out to us and you remind us. I remember when we were at St. Mary's and we shared our stories and you cried with us. You remind us along the way if we look like we're forgetting. And I give that to you as your responsibility as we continue this incredibly important work, and all of the things that we need to do. So I thank you. We will continue. I think our next session of the Committee on Homelessness, Mental Health, and Recovery will be a working session with our family shelters to really start taking the information we've collected so far and figuring out ways to put them into action, to start creating some real solutions, so that as a city, I see my role as a city councilor to take what needs to get done and make the city an easier place to do that. So we'll get there. We're certainly, this conversation, and I call it a conversation, but these hearings and these sessions don't end. They continue because the work will continue. I unfortunately think forever, but I think we can make some substantial gains over the next few months. So I adjourn this meeting for now and look forward to seeing you and your success along the way. So thank you.